Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video we're going to see question set number 35. In the in the previous videos we studied about question set number 31 to 34. So let's see question set number 35. So this is the question set they have given us. In this question set they have told us to enter these details in the tables to the tables which we created in the previous videos. So if you didn't watch the previous videos of this main question, you can watch the videos from question set number 31 to 34. So in question set number 34 we did the same procedure. That means we created tables and we inserted the data that they gave us in the tables. So in this question they have told us to insert the data in the brand table and the product data in the product table, grn data in the grn table, grn item data in the grn item table, the stock data in the stock table, invoice data in the invoice tables, and the invoice item data in the invoice item tables. So I'm going to open the HDSQL database software. So you can see here RL issue center. This is the database related to this main question. So in this question, if you look at this, we have entered the address here. They gave us the data in the question set number 34. So according to the instructions, we entered the data. So first of all, in this question, let's do the first question. Enter the data in the table below in the brand table. So we need to enter these data in the brand table. So as well as you can see here, this is the brand table. There is nothing in this table. There is no data, and we need to enter the data they have given in this question manually. That means we need to write queries, insert queries to enter these data into the tables. So let's do it. So I'm going to write the first query for the first question. So this is the first data of the brand table. So this is how we write in insert query. So if you don't know how to write the insert query, in the previous videos we have um, taught you how to write the insert query. So this is the query. Let's execute this. So you can see here we have executed. If you come to the brand table, you can see here we have entered the first data into the brand table. So there are three more data to be entered into the brand table, that is Bata, Nike, Puma. So I'm going to copy this. So this is the query for the this is the query for the all three data that we need to enter. So I'm going to execute this. So if we see the table, you can see here all the data are entered into the table. So this is the first question, and let's move on to the second question. Enter the data in the table below in the product table. So we need to enter these data into the product table using the insert query. So these are the data that we need to enter. So let's go again to the MySQL. So let's go back to our HDSQL software. So this is the product table. There is nothing in this product table. The product table is empty. So we need to enter those data into this table. So I'm going to write the insert query for the question. So the first data is this one. So the insert query for this question is same as like the previous questions insert query. So guys, this is the query for the first data. So let's execute this. Guys, this is the query for the first data. So let's execute this. So you can see here we have executed this, and let's go to the table, and there is nothing now. Let me refresh. So you can see here the data we entered is in the product table. So the first data that they gave us, we entered the data into the table successfully, and let's enter these data into the table as well. So guys, you can see here we have entered the queries for the remaining data in the table. So we need to execute this, and let's see whether the data are entered in the inserted into the table. So I executed the queries right now, and let's go to the table and refresh the table. So you can see here all the data we entered using the query has been entered into the table. So this is the second question. Let's move on to the third question. Enter the data in the table below into the GRN table. So we need to enter these data into the GRN table. So let's do this question the same way we did the first and the second question. So I'm going to write the query for the first data. Guys, this is the query for the third question's first data. That means this one. You can see here this is the data that I have entered here. So let's execute this. I executed the insert query, and let's go to the GRN table. So you can see here the data we entered using the insert query has been entered into the GRN table. So let's enter the remaining these datas into the table. So you can see here I have entered the queries for the remaining datas that we want to enter into the table. So if you see the query briefly, we need to insert data. So we have used the insert query, and we need to insert the data into the GRN table. So that's why we have given the GRN word here after the keyword called insert into. And then there are three columns in the table. So in the previous question we mentioned the columns specifically, but in this case we are not mentioning the columns because we are entering the data to the whole table. So after using the keyword called values, we can give the data inside the brackets. So this is how so this is the insert query for the third question. So let's execute this, and let's move on to the table and see whether the data are entered. So you can see here all the data which we entered using the insert query has been entered into the table. So let's move on to the fourth question. Enter the data in the table below in the GRN item table. So we need to enter these data into the GRN item table. So let's do this question as well. So when you see this table, specifically we need to enter the quantity and the selling price when we enter using the insert query, because the GRN ID, product ID, and the stock ID will be automatically saved in the table. So if we see the table before entering the data, there is nothing in the table, but when we enter the first data, other columns will automatically be filled using their foreign keys. So let's enter the first query for this question. So you can see here we have entered the first insert query for the first data in the table. So this is the this. So let's execute this. So I executed this, and let's go to the table and let's check. So let's move on to the next question. So we have the next question as the fourth one. They have told us to insert these data into the GRN item. So before that, we need to enter the stock data into the stock tables, because you can see here we have a stock ID. That means the foreign key of the stock table is in the GRN item table. So if we fill the stock table, then only we can access the GRN item table. So first of all, we need to do this question, the fifth one. So let's do this question, and then we can come to the fourth question. Enter the data in the table below into the stock table. So we need to enter these data into the stock table. So I'm going to the HeyDSQL database software, and I'm going to write the first query for the. So this is the query for the first data. So if we see this query, we need to insert the data into the stock table. So we have given the stock table name, and then as I said in the previous question, if we want to enter the data specifically into the specific columns, we need to give the names of the columns. But in the previous question, we didn't give any column name, because we entered the data to the whole table. But in this question, we are entering the data specifically into the quantity and the selling price table. That's why we have given the column names as well. After that, we have used the values keyword to um, give the values that we want to enter into the table. So this is the query, and let's execute this. So if we go to the stock table, you can see here the data which we entered is in the table. So this is how so I'm going to enter the remaining data as well. So we entered the query for the remaining data. So I'm going to execute this, and if we see the table, so this is how the data are loaded into the table. So we have done the fifth question. So let's move on to the next question. So as I said earlier, we have finished the fifth question, and let's go to the fourth question now. So if we see the fourth question, enter the data in the table below in the GRN item table. So we need to enter these data into the GRN item table. So I'm going to write the query for this question, and first of all I'm going to write the query for the first data. So this is the query for this question and for the first data. So let's execute this. So we have entered the query for the first data. So let's execute this. So we have executed the query, and let's go to the product table, GRN item table. So you can see here the data which we entered have been entered into the table successfully. So same as like this, let's enter the remaining data into the table as well. So I have entered the queries for the remaining data. So let's execute this and go to the table. So you can see here the data which we entered through insert queries has been entered into the table successfully. So let's move on to the next question. The next question is the sixth question. Enter the data in the table below. Enter the data in the table below into the invoice table. So we need to enter these data into the invoice table. So let's do this using the insert queries. So guys, this is the query for the first data that we want to enter into the invoice table. So let's execute this and see. So you can see here the data which we entered using the insert query has been entered into the invoice table successfully. So let's enter the remaining data same as like this. So we have entered the I have entered the queries for the remaining data. Let's execute this and let's see the table. So you can see here all the details that we entered using the insert query has been entered into the table, has been entered into the invoice table. So let's move on to the final question. Enter the data in the table below into the invoice item table. So we need to enter these data into the invoice item table. So we need to do the same thing that we did earlier. I'm going to write the query for the first data. So this is the query for the first data, the insert query, and let's execute this query. So if we see the invoice item table, you can see here the data which we entered using the insert query has been entered into the invoice item table. So let's enter the remaining data the same way we entered the first data. So we have entered the I have entered the queries for the remaining data. I'm going to execute this and let's see in the table. So you can see here the data which we entered using the insert queries has been entered into the invoice item table. So according to this question set, there are 7 questions. All they have told us to enter the data that they gave us in the particular tables. So this is up to question set 35. Let's meet with question set 36 in the next video.